is Mike Edgecombe. I'm calling in.
Hey, Mike, we got you.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Okay. What was actually getting it?
Oh, no, it's just
Okay.
they just
Yeah, well, I guess I'm also looking at the meeting that got the. It was already after the public hearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now I've got. But it's, I understand. You're just like, yeah, it's gonna impact all the parts. So I'm like, they don't say it's gonna be slow. It's like, it's all, the inject first, I'm putting that in through the inject.
Yeah, yeah.
Therefore, you're like, the hydrants.
Yes.
No.
We got 5 o'clock.
So each one is the same link, right?
Yeah, it's the same one. Yeah. Yeah, it's the one that's on.
On the website.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't put it up there today. We will go ahead and call the order the February 13th, 2024 meeting of the Villa Sol Community Development District. First item on the agenda is roll call. Mr. Perez.
Here.
Mr. Gagnon.
Present.
Mr. Comas Jr.
Present.
Mr. Edgecombe.
Here on the call.
Gotcha. Thank you, Mike. So for the record, we have 3 board members present. We've got 1 participating by Zoom. We can do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item we have is public comment period. We will open it up for any members of the audience who'd like to make comment. We'd ask that you please state your name and address and keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. All right. All right, Mr. Cordova's joined the meeting as well. All right. Any audience comments at this time? Yes, good.
I've had people ask me about the basketball court out here. What would be necessary to get adequate lighting on that so that kids would be comfortable coming after dark to play and not be afraid of people and things. So I'd like to ask the board to think about that and put that in your short stack of things to do. But maybe we need to get some better lighting on that. Because as it is, I see it's not useful. Thank you.
All right. Any other audience comments at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed with the agenda. We had Osceola County that was slated to come out, but as I understand, they came to the HOA meeting as well. So I think, maybe they decided not to come for this evening. If they pass along any updates, we'll pass it on to the board for you to distribute. It really was more about their Simpson Road project and just the impacts on the residents. So not specifically CDD business. We did talk to the engineer earlier today. He doesn't have any real updates at this time. We did get the bid out for all the stormwater repair. So we're waiting for those bids to come back, and we expect to have them available for your next meeting on March 19th.
So just getting on that, I know we gotta get the whole project. So should we wait then until we get everything so then we can divide it for whatever we need? Because I think we need to start, I don't think that the CDD has all the money to do everything that is in there, right? And right now we have pretty big holes that need to be fixed like yesterday. And the same way as roads, like the back alley road that they need paved. I think we need to prioritize, that's obviously my opinion, prioritize on things that we need to do in the district versus just doing the whole piping and then no money for nothing else. So just, what is the best course of action for that? Should we, wait until, he gives us the sealed proposals or whatever he has to give us?
Yeah, I think that's typically the best direction is we went out the bid, he'll get the bids. Just because you have the bids, that doesn't commit you to doing any of the project, all the project. You guys as a board will then have to determine from those bids where you want to go from there. And so if it's shortening up the scope of the project, then you could look at the bids, maybe you pick a vendor and go, hey, we like this vendor, but we're going to reject all the bids for this bid, and then we'll negotiate with that vendor for a smaller scope of work. That's under the public bid threshold if needed. We have lots of options, but really once we've put the bids out, we can't do a whole lot with that particular project. But you're not committed to doing those projects just because we.
Did the engineer give any idea how long it's gonna take to get the bids?
Well, it's a 30-day process, so we just got it out. I think February 9th was the first day the bids were available. So they'll have 30 days. I think we have it coming back March 12th so that we have them for your March 19th. And even then, you don't even have to make a decision that day. So if you want to just discuss it as a board, and then defer that decision till later, our bid package contemplates any direction from the board, is fine. From there, the next item we have is obviously the board authorized us to do the reserve study. So we've got to a draft of that in there. We did let them know that, we wanted the board to have some time to digest it. It's a lot of information. And they've given us some time. They'll make one set of changes for us, based on whatever direction the board would like to do. Plus Jarrett and I have reviewed it. So I have a few comments on it. Overall, I think it's based on the numbers and what I'm seeing, I think it's fairly accurate. In terms of what needs to be done and the amounts. The one glaring thing I found is that they've got landscape money every year to about $375,000, which I think is greatly in excess of what's needed. Jared and I were kind of talking somewhere in the neighborhood of about $25,000 a year probably gives you enough to just keep the plant materials up. So I think we're going to ask them to make that change. And then additionally, it's important to note that somebody's just joining us. So it's also important to note that currently your stormwater work is being funded from your general fund, whereas this contemplates that as part of the capital. So even though this shows that you need to add that to capital, it's really just moving the money from one fund to the next. It's not an additional money that's needed. But basically just looking at just the figures. Initially, if you take in their super high landscape money, it comes up to a pretty stark increase. But if you take that out and you just use their numbers, it comes up to about an increase of about $800 a year. But you see, I think there's a great need in the community for some of that infrastructure, and there's some things that are coming up pretty quick. So again, it's there for your information to digest. If you have any specific questions, Jarrett and I can review those and look at those. But quite honestly, besides that landscape number that really jumped out at us, I think all the rest of them are probably pretty close to what we see for other districts. It is important to note that number obviously the reserve number is high, but it does also contemplate your asphalt repair There's the ceiling that's in there, as well as a full mill and overlay in this plan too, which they price at about $1.6 million or $1.1 million for a full resurface mill and resurface of all your roads. So all of that is programmed in. So I think it contemplates the vast majority of what CDD infrastructure is needed. So then, but with that, we can open it up to any questions the board might have or any specific comments.
So if I understand this correctly, to be fully funded, we're like just under 2 million. Is that right?
Let me see.
It says 5,181,000 total, and we're funded at 3,002,086. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's based on timing of things and how they break out. Again, if you take that landscape number out, we need to add about 370 to about 470 for the next 10 years to reserves annually. And if you average that out, it comes out to about 40. You need to do about $440,000 per year worth of reserves. We try to look at these in a 10-year increment, although they show price increases every year, which is valid. What we like to do is have you guys set up so that you set an amount and you can leave it that way for about 10 years. So you're not adjusting assessments annually. But yeah, I think it's showing, if you reduce that landscape number out, which we think is very reasonable, you're looking at about 400,000 a year that needs to get put into reserves. And again, but 100 of that, 128 of that is already in your stormwater repair. So that comes out too. So you're really looking at about an increase of about 300,000, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood, 300 to 350 in reserves to reduce per year. Yeah. And that's everything. Now, some of these, you kind of, that's why we only look at about a 10-year window. And that's what they recommend, is that you kind of redo these every about 10 years. They look at a 30-year window to kind of give you a planning number. But realistically, anything kind of beyond 10 years is throwing darts at a wall. And so again, you can have some time to digest that if you want some more, and ask me some questions. I've got them on hold to make any final changes. And then we'll take all those changes at once and get a final report. And again, we always say this is just a tool that we use for budgeting. It'll be up to you guys as a board when we get there. When you see our initial budget, it'll probably use a lot of these figures, and then it's really up to you guys as a board and a policy-making group to determine which level you feel comfortable with assessing for that next fiscal year. The next thing the board asks, yes, sure.
Have you worked with this company before?
This was our first time with this company.
On page 3, it says for the year 2025.
Mm-hmm.
The part that it says reserve contributions, are they suggesting a contribution for the reserve of $750,000?
That's what they recommended. Again, they're using about $350,000 of landscape, which I don't even know where they got that figure from. We think that should be about 25,000. That's why I was saying it's in the neighborhood of about 400 when you net that out.
Okay, and then on page 17, we have this figure as relative future reserve expenditures. On the part that it says general site elements, that they have $26 million, whatever amount. Are they projecting that to have expenses for how long? 20 years, 30 years?
That's a 30-year window. And that general site improvements, the vast majority of that is your roadways, it's landscaping, it's everything but the pool and the clubhouse, essentially.
So if we divide the 26 by the 30.
Here, so theirs is a little different than the ones we've worked with before. So let me try to find that.
It looks like they start lower in the early years when they raise it.
Yeah.
Correct. That's what every research I see, that they go lower first and then higher. We need to.
Yeah, so I think if you go to the page before that, which is page 16, it kind of shows you the annual.
Mhm.
I mean, there are some years where they're anticipating, expenses of, 700,000, then there's $1 million. So it kind of, I think the 26 kind of averages out over the whole 30-year term of the budget.
And for the next meeting, can you bring more information about what they are implying with those amounts?
Sure. And like that, this is the draft, so we wanted to have those conversations, get all of your feedback, and then we'll bring you the final report when it's ready. Absolutely. The board also asked us to get a holiday lighting proposal. So we've provided you with the one that we've used for a neighboring community. He's estimating 7,500, and that's for the front entrance. And if you go, there's a proposal, and then right behind the proposal, he's actually done some mock-ups of what that looks like. So at this stage, I don't know that you need to enter into any contracts. It would just be a matter of if you want us to put that amount of money in the budget, or any amount of money, or no amount in the budget for that type of service. But you can see there, it's page 63, I think, of your agenda. 62 and 63 kind of show you what he's mocked up in terms of what he would do for that $7,500. And that is an annual cost, so that's, you don't own the lights. He comes out, he puts the lights up, and then he takes them down and stores them.
And then you said, so this is a link, right? Of the
Yeah.
lights.
Essentially, yeah.
And what you see in other communities, like they use this type of service, or they buy their own lights and they store it.
Typically, every community that I have where like leases the lights, and it's about, depending on community size or how much they want, 5 to 15K a year.
Yeah, we've got a community in Brevard that spends upwards of 20 at this point on holiday lights. I mean, you can go, you can go up to Disney World at level if you want. There's companies that'll do it. But we found them to be really reasonable. They were good to work with. Actually, I think that price is probably on the low side of what we've seen from other vendors based on what they're doing. And again, it's not really anything you guys need to take action on right now. It's just a matter of if you'd like to include it in the budget or not.
But when do we have to decide that?
I mean, what we can do, if the board wants, is we can just take the 7,500 and just put it in your budget, see what it does.
And then we can.
Mark that as a specific line item, so it's real clear, and if you want to take it out as we go through the process, we can take it out. We can do that. It's always better when you're doing the budget to throw as much stuff in at the start, and then you can start weeding out things here and there based on your priority and the assessment level. Finally, behind that, we've got an agreement for your next year's arbitrage. Arbitrage is the annual test we're required to perform to make sure you're not earning more money on your bonds than is legally allowed. This is the same company that's done it for years with your district, so they're really familiar. They're good to work with, and we're comfortable going ahead. We just got it about 2 days ago, so we wanted to add it to the agenda and make sure the board was okay proceeding with the same company. And if you guys are good, we can just take a motion to approve that.
Anyone have any comments?
So also they're making sure we're not making more money off the bond when you are creating the bond.
So there is a trigger in your bonds that says you can legally learn, and everyone's different, but as an example, it says, it might say, because we're a tax exempt organization, so what they're trying to make sure we're not doing is taking bond money, holding on to it, earning interest. So there's a certain level of interest you're allowed per each individual bond. So this is a test that we are required to do that shows we're not earning more interest than legally. That's
That would be, otherwise we'd be in breach potentially of the indenture, which is that contract. with
Yeah.
bondholders.
So this is what you spend on the.
And just to back out of the
correct. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I mean, frankly, it would be almost impossible for us to find enough investments to earn above that threshold,
Yeah.
given the market right now, but at some points, that's not always the truth. I'd have to look at this one specifically. Each one is completely different, yeah.
So it's.
Yeah.
So there's much room for argument against.
I mean, there's other companies that do it, but it's going to be the same amount, and these guys already are familiar with your district, so there's.
Yeah, recommended.
It looks like it's $600 to do the math.
Yep. We'll bring your report back so you can look at the math again.
Yeah. Okay, so I make a motion, for tax solution for about $600.
Perfect.
I'll second that.
All right. We'll have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Perfect. Thank you, Michael. Motion carries unanimously. With that, we can go to council's report and we'll start with council.
Okay, great. Good evening, board supervisors. All right, so a few things that I have to talk to you about today. We can just start with the ethics training reminder that's included in your agenda. So hopefully you got my email. We've gotten several calls and emails asking some questions about the new ethics training requirement and what year specifically it applies to. So there is a Form 1 for calendar year 2023 it's confusing because it's due in 2024. So that's due July 1st, 2024. Most of you probably have already done that. If you haven't, you can, and actually you're required now to submit it electronically. So there's a URL link in my email. You can go on there and do that. And then the new ethics training requirement that you're going to have to self-certify, that's the calendar year 2024 and on. So you're gonna have to mark that out on your Form 1 that's due in 2025. But that was causing a lot of confusion, so we just sent this email out to all the boards, and then you can do it in 15-minute increments. It's the 4 hours of ethics training that's required, has to cover certain subjects, so try to make it easier. I put down my recommended program here to cover all 4 hours. If you go to these websites, the Florida Commission on Ethics, the Attorney General website, there are free videos on there, but they're applicable to, some are applicable to state officers. And so, you could watch that and satisfy your requirement, but it's more relevant and probably helpful to you if you watch the ones for local officers. So I've included these two on here. I personally watched the GIFs and the voting complex. I think it's really helpful. I encourage all of you to watch those two to satisfy the requirement. And then there was another one, public meetings, the public records, as a 2-hour video on the Attorney General website. So if you want to upload those, you'll have completed it. You can do that requirement now. Just keep a record of when you completed it, because you're gonna have to potentially note that on the form. As this law is implemented, we will continue to update you, but that's what we know so far. So if you go ahead and do it now, just encourage you to make a little mental note of what you did to satisfy the requirement this year. Okay, if you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out to Jason. You are fully vetted on all of these, so that if I put up field that, or obviously you're welcome to reach out to me, or if he doesn't know the answer, he'll reach out to me soon.
And,
Okay.
just gathering that, I've been receiving emails as well, the city.
I'm guessing from the Florida Association of Special Districts?
Yeah.
Yes, they're
Yeah,
emailing.
people saying they don't put it in the training here, there, so.
Yeah, it's completely up to you. There are free resources.
Yeah.
I actually think we could stay,
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't watched other ones, but these are put on by the Florida Commission on Ethics,
Yeah.
at least the voting public and gifts law. So those are, I would highly recommend that. They're, the ultimate authority on these types of things. So if there was ever an issue, for example, you'd be going before the Ethics Commission there. So this is an attorney at the Ethics Commission that's putting on the video, but you're free to do that, and just make sure you are satisfying, there's the subject areas that they have to be on. So if you want to purchase the class, if you're not sure if it qualifies, you can give me a call, or you can ask them, you can call them and say, I'm a local officer for a special district of Cdd in Florida, does your course meet the requirement? I'm happy to look at it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Hi. If we want, does the board want to go back and give them a few minutes?
To you guys.
Yeah.
I just don't want to have to take it.
Yeah, we can do that.
Point you bit to go into, so.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
If the board's
So, yeah.
No, correct. I know, but let me see, because she was here, they were here, right? Excuse me, everybody was here on the HOA presentation. Right, for the Simpson Road? Yes, yes.
Something happy.
So I don't know if you wanna do it, because it's the same people that they were on the HOA
Yeah,
presentation.
I want to apologize because I have a line in my schedule. I had the meeting at 5:30, so that's why you can do it at 5 to 7. It's up to you, I have to protect her, but give it to people. So,
Yeah, it's the same, and pretty much everybody will see already the letter,
Yeah.
on mail, so everybody pretty much is knowing, yeah.
Well, the only updates are some updates at the dates on Clinton Road and Neptune Road, maybe if I can share with you that. An email and
Yes.
everything will
Yeah, if you send me an email, Jason Chow, I'll make sure that the board gets it and we can send it out.
be perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, appreciate it.
Okay, great. So I'll go back to my list here. So the next item that I want to talk to you about is the spike strip issue, okay? So can I get you up to date with where we are at? So I have continued to follow up with the vendors, council and try to get them to the table. We've talked about, the arguments that we've already gone through. So the board will recall right now, we're at $7,441.78 in, requests for reimbursement for, the damaged tires. Okay, and then we also paid the $2,800 to remove the spike strip. Okay, and, that initial contract with the board had spent about $19,000 to initially install that, okay? They have come back and said, we do not believe that we are responsible to reimburse the CDD, because they said if the spike strip was the cause of the damaged tires, which that would be something else that we have to prove, causation, that we can talk about in a little bit. But they said if that was the case, that spike strip caused damage to the tires, we believe it was because of the CDD's lack of proper maintenance to the spike strip and not our installation. Okay, so they said, we don't think that we're responsible. At some point it was working. They also said that they had recommended a maintenance fund to the district and, that was turned down. And so I think the board had asked Jason to go back through and look to see where, when was that actually recommended? And so, Jason, if you wanted to give your.
Sure. So I actually, I went through, I found no evidence that it was ever suggested. So we reached out and I just generally asked the question, can you give us some information on when this was recommended? And the answer we got back was it was a personal conversation between the maintenance person and the former chair, and they declined it. There was no evidence that it actually was a written proposal. There was no, they're basing their denial of the claim on just a conversation that happened between the former maintenance person and the former board.
Yeah, so I think it was the chairman, and it was the chairman and Freddie Blanco, who was the field manager at the time, and so that was a conversation that they had. And so they said, for these reasons, we're declining to contribute. Now, the insurance company, we had reached out to them previously to see if they would be willing to cover, the approximately $7,400 worth of the damaged tires. And my understanding is that they, at that time, they were willing to.
They still seem to be willing. They're basically waiting on any direction from the board. I mean, they would take
Yeah.
care of those things.
Exactly, and
If
so
it was-
once we got that answer, we just hold on, let's see where, where the board sits on this. And then I wanted to continue to follow up with the attorney to see if we could get anywhere else, but they are firm on it. Right, now. So I think. Now, well, part of this conversation, I went back to the agreement, which was entered into in 2022. I do think that we have good grounds, there's indemnification, there's the 1-year warranty, et cetera, but one thing that is concerning in here is that there's a prevailing party provision for attorney's fees, which means that if either party sue, bring a legal action against the other one, the prevailing party, so the party that wins, is entitled to have the losing party pay for their attorney's fees. So when we talk about bringing a claim, we have photographs, but there's things that it's not necessarily a slam dunk case here. Do we know what did the chairman at that time, or was the chairman delegated authority to interact with the field manager? Decisions on behalf of the board. We don't have that information right now. And also, when we talk about what would our damages be, it's likely that we're looking at the $2,800 plus the $7,400. So, we're more in the ballpark of 13,000. If we bring a lawsuit,
And there's no recourse to, take some of the money we paid for those pipes, is there one, no problem?
you could try, but the fact that it was operating for some period of time goes against our argument that it was improperly installed.
It was less than a year. I'm sorry.
It was less than a year. We're arguing that it was less than a year. I think they potentially have an argument that, it was not less, you're further after a year because of when they installed it versus when we got the invoice and paid it. So we're basing our argument that we were also within that 1 year because of when we paid their invoice. But ultimately, they're saying it was the district's lack of maintenance and not any default on us. And, they said, well, you should have tightened the screws earlier to have prevented this. But let me talk, because I understand that, that's why I've continued for as long as I have to try to fight this. But at the end of the day, we're looking at potentially, $13,000 if you're not including the cost of the spike strips, which is 19. You are looking at 30. Okay, but to bring a lawsuit before you even get to a trial, you're looking at potentially $20,000 to $40,000 to file a lawsuit, you file a complaint. The other side can answer, you've got to answer that, you've got to go through a discovery phase, you've got to hire an expert, an engineer to go out there. Our engineer said he wasn't qualified to review that, to review the spike at the time, which I believe that's correct. That's correct as to his response. So those are fees that the city would incur in order to bring a lawsuit. So it comes down to, we've got to consider that. I gotta warn you about that. And I also have to warn you that if you did go that way, you spend $20,000 to $40,000 before you even get to a trial. If you lose that trial, not only are you going to spend the 20 to 40 on our side, but then if you lose, you potentially also going to be there. And if you win, then you're potentially going to, be able to get, the 20 to 40 is on their side. So now, in this case, you've got an insurance company that you're paying for insurance, and we have not let them know yet, InfoWorks response is that, it turns out that it doesn't appear that what we're being told is that this was a separate conversation. It wasn't the board declining to do this maintenance. So we can let the insurance company know of that and see, if
They might have some additional
Yes.
leverage, yeah.
Yeah, if they decide maybe it's worth the insurance company pursuing that, pressing charges, et cetera. And I think one consideration we probably want to ask them is, can they give us any idea as to, is that gonna impact our premium? Next year, I think that there was some, desire to have that conversation with the insurance company by a supervisor. So that's something that we can look into. We could go back to Infomark and say, okay, well, are you willing to pay the 28? Would you pay the $2,800 and we'll waive the others? You could go back to your insurance company and say, it turns out that, our understanding now, the information we provided is that this was a conversation between the chairman of the board at the time and the manager from Infomark at the time. And it wasn't, we don't know that it was the district, and we can see, do they decide to take it to another on there?
Insurance options that require deductible.
Not on this case, no, because we're not making, the deductible is when you're making the claim yourself. So like when the gate damaged, because we didn't have a responsible party, we made the claim to insurance, so there is that $1,000 deductible. If it's somebody else that's making the claim against ours, there's no deductible.
And then another thing that I want to bring up to you is about the $7,400 in the request that we've received to repair tires. Is one risk, which I have to warn you on it, is, you could, if you decide you're going to reimburse for the $7,400, other people could bring additional claims. And that's also possible. So then are you setting that precedent? one issue that we talked about before is causation. So in order to be successful in proving that we are liable to reimburse approximately $7,400 to repair these tires, is can they prove that those specific tires cause damage to, or those specific spikes, excuse me, cause damage to their tires? You know, there's one argument that is, well, if those spikes actually cause the damage to those set of tires for $7,400, then wouldn't it be true that everybody else would have damage to their tires too? Those were the cause of the tire issue. Wouldn't everybody else have submitted claims, and that didn't happen? So I have to warn you that that is a risk. You could say, okay, we'll reimburse this, and then we get, you know, you're setting the precedent of, are we conceding that, yes, it was defective? Because we haven't necessarily established that, you know, unless we have a picture or a video or something of the car going over that specific spike, and then you have the tire, you know, that's what we're talking about, causation. Did it happen somewhere else? Is it that tire? Are those photographs accurate? Those are all questions that I could ask to say, is this invoice legitimate? Those are things. So that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin too is, well, so if you don't reimburse that, what's the risk then, Kristen? Well, the risk is that they could bring, you know, potentially small claims case, but they would also still have to prove causation, right? They would have to prove that particular site caused damage to their tire. So there's a lot to think about here, and I don't want to rush you at all, but I think we have I'm throwing a lot at you, and we can digest this, we can talk about it, and we can decide you want to make a decision next month. I know that Chairman Perez recused himself, right, for abstaining from voting, and discussing the matter of reimbursement of the tires at the last meeting, due to a conflict of interest. So just want to put that back on the record.
So, but my question is, so if, let's say we go the insurance route and other people claim later, is that like not an option at that time for the people that claim later?
I think we need to talk to the insurance company about that and just say, you know, how are you paying out? Is there going to be some type of settlement to say that, yes, the insurance company is going to pay you, but in no way is the CDD conceding liability. So we're saying, we're paying you, but we're not conceding that act is us admitting that this is our own liability. You know, because we could tell the insurance company, well, you know, there is a question about those specifics on that issue. Is that a legitimate issue? Do we have proof of that?
About the $2,800, the spike thing that they remove. I know we talked about it before. I know you keep talking back, you know, to the other party, back and forward. How much already we have spent, you know, you talking to them for the $2,800?
Right? I don't have the exact number, but yes, that is a consideration, and that is something that you would look to if you brought legal action against them. So that's, you know, that's a consideration too. We could tack that out. Is that the damage? That's so in the contract, it says indemnification. That, you know, this is a difficult decision, unfortunately. I'm so sorry that it is, but unfortunately, this is a difficult decision that you're faced with right now. How do you proceed? And for me, I am concerned about, well, first of all, the cost. You could go to trial, you could spend 50 or something like that, or potentially 14. They have a good argument.
That doesn't make sense. It's a 50-50 gamble. Even with the judge, they might see it so many different ways, and then it's just too risky. For the amount of money we're talking about. Insurance coverage is there. I would just like to learn more about the specifics as to how it would work. Should more homeowners pop up after the situation is taken care of, will the insurance company still cover those conditions?
Okay.
In other words, limit the liability to the district.
I mean, typically, you know, they view each of these claims as individual, so these three kind of all came in at the same time, so they're viewing them all as the same style of claim. I believe any future claims they'd handle those individually as the claims come in.
And I'd say, in my experience, I've not seen a CDD pursue legal action for this, but I'm sure there have been some that do that. You know, based on principle to proceed with that type of action. But in this event, you know, you do have an insurance company that's willing to pay for the claims that come in, so we can try to get more details on that end and just run it back to you.
I would like to know that and also whether it's going to impact our two.
Okay.
Balance that out.
Right.
But for insurance going to be double next year, I might not be worth it. Yes.
I think a lot of the cosmetic. The insurance and it's a good question, hopefully, we're mentally. Does that happen? But at the same time, you're right, we don't have. Not to stand on the, we buzz, damage caused by. But in or outside the court. You're not confident with going to court. You can say that damage caused.
It's it's a pricey endeavor to push it to
Yeah.
litigation. You know, you've got probably gonna have to for some team of people because they're no longer on the board, they're no longer.
Yeah, I think that probably. Yeah. The money in, or the money out.
Well, that, and I agree with most of the board on that situation, going back to try to explain previous people, especially one that is no longer the company, you know, so being people, despite they are no longer installed, they can look out, you know, where the down were claims. Going after the previous management company for a lot of money, it doesn't make any sense. And the point that you just mentioned about the new information that now you have to provide to
Oh, sure, yeah.
the insurance that we have, if that will, they will go ahead and agree anyways to pay the claims with this new information, we don't know yet. So that's something that we need to take into consideration. How much we have to not invest to put out there in order to get $7,400 back.
So if I'm hearing the board correctly, I'll reach out to insurance company. I'll ask them, obviously, what's the impact on future claim, or what's the impact on the future cost of insurance? What if any future claims of this nature come about? And then also, we'll share with them the information about what Infomark said about why they denied the claim to begin with. And let them kind of walk through that process, and we'll bring back, I'll go ahead and talk to the insurance, that way it'll save you a little bit on Kristen, and
Yeah.
we'll just bring you back information at the next meeting.
And then can you ask them about like what does the settlement language look like is one of
Yeah,
them.
I had that.
We're
Got it.
conceding liability.
Yep.
And also the part that they just add about future claims. Now, if we decide to pay this big claim, what's gonna happen if somebody will come out the next day, next week, next month? Hey, by the way, I got some damage last year, show me the proof, and they take pictures and they bring information, where are we standing? We all have a lot of bucks that is gonna be hard to deal with.
Yeah, I'll ask them how they'll handle it.
And the spikes were removed when? Remember?
January? No, before that. Man, it's,
No,
it's been
So it's been several months.
4 months, yeah.
So, you know.
You'd hope there'd be enough separation.
I think it's very unlikely that new things are gonna come, but I think we should still.
Okay.
I'll bring those back.
Okay, and then moving to the other issue is the Truist account fraud charges. So there's 3 remaining, approximately $9,000 is what we're looking at. So Truist had sent letters denying that. So I went back to their attorney and said, we could potentially sue you all or take you to, under the agreement, it's mediation is required. There's a dispute under the original contract. So we have mandatory mediation, and then if there's an impasse, meaning the parties don't reach an agreement, then it goes to binding arbitration. So that's one arbitrator, we could think of that like as a judge. They don't have to be a lawyer though, which is interesting to see for, but that one arbitrator is what would decide the resolution, so it would never go to court. Okay. There's still costs, of course, with mediation and arbitration, so.
You can recoup money from that. If you go to arbitration to recoup your legal.
It's unlikely because there's no provision in your original agreement that says that the prevailing party is entitled to, their attorney's fees to be paid by the losing party or something like that. The actual agreement states that both parties, I believe, share in the cost of the mediation service. So both parties come together and agree on a mediator. I think that the contract, hold on a second, right here.
Yeah, because that's another one.
Couldn't this case be put together since it's the same company rules, it's kind of
So-
like mismanagement that we're talking about?
So you actually have two separate agreements. You've got a construction agreement for your spouse, and this says you have to follow, you know, this you bring to court. This wouldn't go to mediation and arbitration. We got this prevailing party attorney fee too in here. So there's a provision in there that says, you know, the jurisdiction is us when it's county court, so. That's the jurisdiction for this agreement, and then in your other master agreement wherein the truant fraud claims would fall, there's a mandatory mediation and arbitration provision, so you've got actually this one is set up with two separate agreements. Unfortunately. All right, and then, so this one. Here, each party shall bear its own cost of the mediation, but the parties shall share equally the cost of the mediator and the mediation service. So, you know, if the mediator's hourly rate is $600 an hour, each party is gonna pay $3 for that mediation to occur.
Correct, but like in the end, let's see if it doesn't do anything on mediation, go to arbitration.
Right,
So in arbitration, can you request reimbursement from the final judgment?
you could argue that you were damaged, and as a result of that, if you want your attorney's fees, you could put that in there.
Because what I'm looking also is on this, you can see how much money we're putting into that as well. If we're already getting close to 9,000, then we are.
Is it splitting hairs, right, exactly. I mean, mediation is not an expensive item, but I don't think we're there quite yet. And the reason is because we've been going around in a circle to get access to the documents that supported, Truist Bank's last 3 denials. So I finally got on the phone yesterday with the manager at Truist and said, what is needed so that we can get the documents? Because their attorney is trying to access documents and they're, I guess, not getting a response, so, I was told that somebody has to go into the branch and basically authorize Jason and GMS to have access to the account. So, and part of the reason too that I say that is because right now they're saying that Truist improperly denied these, because they're saying when they submitted these, the actual bank account with Truist and, the CDD is governed by a separate contract for commercial banking. And it stated that you had to report fraud within a certain number of days. The prior company is saying, we did that, and you have, you know, approved 3 of the fraud claims and you denied the rest of them. And so their position is that the third party, it's the third party's fault, that they did everything compliant, the third party did not. Okay, so I think it behooves us to find out why in fact did Truist deny the last 3? Whose fault was that? Was it the prior companies in fact, or did Truist make a mistake and they should have approved it? So I'm trying to get there with them. I can send them another, you know, we're trying to get there. And, you know, I don't know if Jason's comfortable reaching back out in a couple of days or something like that to try to stay on that.
Yeah.
The manager told me pretty succinctly and confidently that someone needs to go to the branch and authorize Jason to do it. Yeah, because they won't even give me the information. to do it.
And that's somebody from the previous owner.
That's,
So,
so I think it's worth, you know, continuing to follow up on that. There is provision that the prior company is not liable for damages, claims, demands of any kind to the extent arising out of and attributable to the acts or omissions of third-party contractors. So, you know, there could be potential argument there, so that's why I'm keen on finding out, why did Truist deny these last three? And that we need to move to, if we believe that it was the fault of the prior management company, then we move to this. So I think at this point, probably it's not worth me racking up any fees, if, you know, this is really comes down to access to a bank account.
And those fraud, I know you mentioned three, you know, that was like back to back, you know, dates and how, you know.
So the dates were September 1st, 2nd, 13th, 15th, 26th, and 27th of 2022.
So when bank accounts are open for the district through management, like the district doesn't have any authority over those accounts?
So we immediately, as soon as we found these, we closed that account. We didn't want any more money to be tied up in there, because of what was going on. And because we did it so quick after we took over, the old management company's name is still on that account, even though it's closed. So we can't get any information on that account, just.
But the account is linked to the district.
Correct.
So that's why I don't understand why the district wouldn't be able to get access without the vendors approval.
If we can get to the right person and we can show them the resolutions and the changes, it's kind of similar to when you go through any customer service account line, you're talking to people who don't actually,
No,
you got to get to the right person. So we're still trying to do that.
It may actually require someone to go in.
Yeah, in person.
Yes, yeah.
In person,
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know if you're comfortable, there's probably going to be an extra charge, that's not in your scope of
It
service,
is.
so.
Okay. Okay.
But, I mean, my overall recommendation would be to try to just get the information. Why were the last three denied? And before you bring a mediation request or
Yeah.
demand.
I just would want to spend $9,000 for the.
So I'll say out there.
Yeah.
I subject for being $9,000.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, no, I think that
got it.
Jason can run with that. Yeah, we just need to find out what's the basis of denial for the last three, and just, I guess, I would recommend just trying to stay on them with that.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Are
Okay.
you putting on a lot of options on that?
Well, your options really are, you can send them a letter demanding to start the mediation and arbitration process in the agreement, or you know, you can try to figure out what Truist, if Truist denied them improperly, then we'll go to Truist and, you know, try to get reimbursement for them. But that's it, those are the two options that I see right now.
So in essence, they're both pointing fingers at each other and we're trying to figure out who really is responsible.
Yeah, Truist said that they were not timely reported, and you know, we have the denial letters from
Yeah.
Truist, so we can send those to you if you want, it's all public record. We have the denial letters from Truist, so for the last three was September 2nd, 15th, and 27th for the ones that they denied.
and you counter, GMS counter like issues like this, you know, so many frauds, you know.
I mean, we've had issues of fraud. I mean, there's no question. We have, a lot of our information is public, and so people will use what's in the agendas, they'll find things, they'll find ways to defraud our accounts. But we typically try to catch them very quick and get them reversed. As long as we prove they're fraud and you catch them quick enough, it's normally not an issue like this. You know, I don't want to make it sound like it doesn't happen, because it absolutely
No,
does.
it happens.
You know, we learn things all the time. In the past, we used to put our, you know, the FedEx invoices used to be in the agenda packs with the invoices, and people were using those account numbers to send FedExes in. I mean, we started to figure, I mean, they find everything. Because of so much of our information is public, so we try to tighten up as much as we can on that, and obviously keep an eye on those accounts.
Okay, and then the other item that I wanted to update the board on is the pond there was some questions about, well, the county owns half of that pond, but the CDD owns the other half. Well, the CDD is maintaining the pond, is we have an obligation to continue maintaining it, and will the county contribute to the cost of it? So I think Jason had reached out to the county, she had asked, they came back and said that they pulled the permit, the South Florida Water Management District permit, and the CDD is listed as the maintenance entity, and that they are not interested in contributing to the cost of maintenance. So the CDD is listed as the permit holder and the maintenance entity, so my recommendation would be to continue. Okay,
So
unfortunately.
then, so that's only for the pond?
Yeah, was there, okay, yeah, so, I mean, we only looked at one pond, was
No.
it different? Okay.
Yeah, no, that's the one, the question, yeah.
Okay, and then,
I thought that's the same thing with the bulldog.
okay, and then there was also questions about the boat ramp situation. So, you know, I have looked through the title work, and I found a sketch of the area too. I do not see boat ramp in any of the documents that I have. Don't see a reference to it. There was a reference in one of the engineering reports, and that's what we provided Peter, and basically said, I had asked him to look at to see if he's got a record of a requisition, which would show us if bond funds were expended on the ramp.
Yes,
Okay, I haven't received.
I sent it to you this afternoon after I
Oh,
found
okay.
$5,000 for enhanced business solution, remove floating dock, repair, remove 80 feet of debris, haul off, reinstall floating dock. It
Okay,
was a total of $10,000.
was it a requisition?
Yes,
Is this just, this was a form of requisition from the,
2018-20.
okay,
So I'm still, Ray earlier today sent me a list of his file of some requisitions, so I had to go through them kind of one by one, they're not.
well, that's very, so Jason, because most of the engineers charge hourly for that review, so. That's it, but, I don't see it on any of the plans, so. I would like to know from Ray or Peter, if they have plans, or they can identify exactly where this ramp was, because it's not showing up in any of the documents that I can see. I think Ray is the co-engineer.
He's the senior engineer, under Dewberry.
So far, what I've seen is the drainage easement, which is still in existence over the pond, because the CDD is draining into that pond, or the permit holder. But I don't see an actual dock, so I do think that we need to confirm with your engineer, do you have construction plans or development plans for this dock? Because I don't see that it's ever accounted for in an actual easement, usually developers will do that, or there'll be some evidence of it. But the county without, you know, it doesn't appear that it's there, so I don't think we have grounds to go back to the county and say, you have to let us put this dock here. I mean, I don't, I'm just going off of what people are telling me as to the location as well. I think we need confirmation on where.
That bank doesn't belong to the county. The bank with the documents. That's the confusion, because the county property stops within a certain number of feet of the bank. And I guess some Otero and Associates.
Yeah, there's another party.
There's a company that owns the bank and supposedly the waterway, which I've never heard somebody owning the waterway.
Yeah.
So the question is, can we find out from that owner if there is an easement to the dock there?
Well, I thought I got confirmation of the fact that the dock, I mean, we certainly can approach any owner, but if it's.
I just want to know if it's legally there, because I mean, there's no point in putting money in there if they just force that dock and put it there. And there was never really any legality.
Yeah,
But, you know, this community was so on the premise that we had a boat dock that could access this state road. And without it.
Yeah, this property, I think where the dock was, is Otero and Associates.
I think that's landlocked too.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to ask Peter if he has plans showing the dock.
Did we confirm if the county property line?
See, there's the dock.
encompasses the dock?
See, there's I went back and that's the 2020 here. So there's the dock on,
Owner Otero and Associates.
so that's the aerial from 2020 that shows it.
Okay, so that's like a different parcel than we originally thought then, if that's the parcel, that's the
But
CDD stuff. Can we send that, I guess, maybe to Peter and confirm,
Yep.
you know, just, is that the parcel? And then we can already title work on that and see if there's an easement.
yeah, that would be part of it, and then the other thing is, if there is an incident, and we do legally have that lot, then is the egress ingress to the lot on county property, because when I look at the areas, it just seems like it's close to the dock area, but it doesn't really show that it encompasses it.
It looks
So
like it's on
we-
like a river that may connect to
Yeah, and actually the access is through Osceola County's property, yeah.
but not. But you'd have to cross that lake to get to it, I don't think there's a road. Here's the clubhouse, you know what I'm saying, is there a
So,
road? to get
There
there?
used to be, there used to be a road, but
There's
there
a middle trail.
used to be a trail,
There's no. That's through county.
So there's no road to the dock, right, from.
Well, there's a
from-
trail. There's no road for, to pull a car through, no.
But
it's
the
walk.
trail does not, it doesn't look like the trail connects to. Until there's an issue, okay. So, you know. I think, my recommendation would be to have Peter confirm that that is the track. Because I was told that it's the county's track, so I would have kind of worked on the county's, on this track, and I don't see any evidence of an easement there. We do have a drainage easement.
Mhm.
Now, you're asking, can we still use the county's road, the pond? We haven't looked at the permit, so we need to talk to,
Well, even the property line, because like I said, I'm just gazing at, through my eyes, and the third property on Sangria, the far end of their line, that's where the property line to the county starts. Behind that house, and it's not clear to me that it goes straight to the dock, or if it's skewed to the right and it doesn't include the dock.
I think the dock is basically on a different. You'll have to look at the property preservation website, that's, I think you're talking about saying we out there. Or, Mario, do you wanna take a look at
Here,
this
I'll
and
show you.
see? There's, looks like it's pretty heavily wooded too
So-
around here.
This is the aerial from 2020, so we actually found a picture with the dock. So this is.
So that's the property line to the county right here?
County's in red. This is that other property you were referring to.
So we could have egress from our own property if we find out if we have an easement there,
Click
has
this
to be here.
again,
because the county doesn't stretch
and
all
then
the way.
this one,
This is ours.
okay, so and then.
So these are just trees, you can still walk underneath
Yeah.
there, it's just a lot of shade there.
Okay, is that conservation?
No, this is the whole clubhouse area.
Okay, yeah, I just don't know if that's conservation here.
I don't-
That makes
I
it
don't-
more clear,
I
that
don't
it
think
looks like
so.
we do have like a corner.
Yeah, I mean, potentially you could, I would imagine
But
the
it's-
county's probably not opposed, to, like a little tornado.
Yeah,
Or yeah, if we can get it.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
yeah.
You see, this one was the road. Obviously, on this photo, you cannot see it good, but it was a road like, it used to be,
That makes
real, like, it was
Used
like
to
a
be
gravel,
Yeah.
but it was real hard. You still can find it if you go there.
Well, that's through here. You can see it here. It's actually through the county property. I mean, you can actually see it on this aerial. There's a trail that goes.
Okay, so I think what we need to do is we need to just confirm with Peter before we go for title. Does he have any plans for that dock that
Okay.
Jason found a requisition for? So that, I mean, can he confirm for us in writing that that is the dock that the bond requirements? So he might say no, or is it's, yeah. something like that. I kind of want to confirm with him before we go. When you order title work, there's an expense to that. It's a few $100s, so we want to make sure we're looking at that we're ordering that, from them. Track that, you know, he believes is the track. And then basically what we'll need to confirm in there is if there's recorded easement or some type of access rights with the CDD. Now, if he recalls an agreement, there could be license that wasn't recorded that the developer had done with with the adjacent owner when this adopted. So, because I wasn't around at that time, I'm limited in what I can give an opinion to as far as what's in my file, but I think Peter may be able to help with this. And then, if we don't, then if there's not a recorded document giving us the right in perpetuity, then we can approach that adjacent landowner and see if they're willing to give us that.
Okay.
We kind of cross that bridge, there's probably some other consideration, we should separate it, about that stuff.
I want to go back and listen to it, because I found the meeting where this was all discussed at. I probably need to go listen to the recording, because there's a note about permits.
And $10,000 to remove the floating dock, remove dirt and reinstall floating dock. So that would be promising.
Yeah, that was something in 2019, right?
Yeah.
July 2019, okay.
So I'll go back and listen and try to find
In
that.
total, we spent like.
Hopefully we have that recording I can listen to and see. The minutes don't provide a whole lot of,
I think in total, we
Clarity.
spent like 17,000 or so.
you're close.
Okay, so that's where we are at with those issues. I think that was everything that I had slated to talk to you about.
Yeah, not to gate urgency, but that dock is not very secure with hurricane season coming in June. We really need to resolve that issue if we're responsible for it. Because it basically, it's still like kind of teetering, I know, like.
The title work I can get back and like. I can get that back in 1 week and then that's very important. Anybody can create that. It will show every single income.
Zero, we don't have the money to prepare it now. I'm not on the own, they're responsible and secure. Spend the money to secure it, right now, and not. So there's,
And then also for the budget, if we all.
Yeah.
the budget, yeah,
I mean, we can see if it's on the property purchase site too, if they by chance listed deed on the, or I'm sorry, on an easement. Quick claim deeds, yeah, those are deeds. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess if Peter and.
We'll do
The
some.
one, then we'll see ahead on that. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think I have I've checked off all the issues that I want to talk to you all about. Any questions for me? Yeah.
appreciate it.
We go into a district manager's item. The first thing we had is we believe there may have been an error on the parking map. We just wanted to bring to the board. So this area, so Casabella is here and then Siesta View runs this way. This area here that's marked in green on this map was originally marked red on all the maps we presented to the board. Based on some discussions with the chair, we believe that's probably the board's intent was to leave that green to allow that additional parking, but we want to verify before we change the parking map. The official one. We put a picture there for you.
This side, this is where the cul-de-sac is.
Right.
Yeah, this area. It's mainly registered in that 4 or 5.
So again, this area is marked red right now, currently on your map. We believe that may be an error.
Is that the only one or is this one also?
No, just this. This one's already green on your map.
Yeah.
It's just this.
This one was green, now this one is red.
I'm okay with it.
So
Yeah, and I think it'll also. Someone there.
and I know we got kind of into the weeds on individual houses, and I think this just got kind of overlooked. Is the board amenable with us adding that area in as green and just saying that's a scrivener's error on rules?
Yeah, it's basically, if that was
Yeah.
the intent of the board, at the public hearing, then it's
We'll
just
clean
an
it
error. Yeah, it's a graphical type of situation that we're correcting.
Yep. We'll do that. Also, just as an update on the towing, Jarrett and I met with a new tow vendor. We're gonna get them the revised map after we make this change and they'll start providing service for us again. The next item I have then is,
Are we all signed up and everything?
yeah, their signs are already at the front and they're,
Even the meeting area for park. You have anything to let people know?
they,
Oh, that's what I asked.
yeah, the official rule is that the sign has to be up at the front of the community saying this community has parking rules and you're subject to tow if you're in violation of those rules. Those signs are up pursuant to Florida statutes. So any other signs that you provide in the community are additional and nice notices. But it's kind of up to the residents to,
I'm more concerned with signs that don't apply anymore and curb feeding that don't apply anymore.
Jared's gonna get quotes for new signs and do the curb painting. But those aren't necessarily requirements for us to enforce under the new.
Ideally, we don't have anything that conflicts with the rules.
Right.
You know, there, so.
I understand, I'm just concerned that, people park in the place they used to park and now you can't park there and there's no sign, there's nothing. Not to park there and to park.
I was telling Jason to send the communication at least every 2 weeks or every month to the HOA saying this is
Just
what it is.
I've got a kind of a standard reminder of where the parking rules are. Please enforce, please look at the parking rules. And then, like I said, Jared's getting signage and some quotes for you guys to bring back in the future. The next item I've got is the approval of minutes of the January 9th meeting. Those minutes are included as part of your agenda in mostly summary form. We can take any corrections or changes to those at this time.
That's what you read, so.
Yeah.
What do you got?
There was something about. Let me see what page it is. Okay, page 4.
Okay.
That Mr. Collins stated that he claimed that despite can share information with the board, he noted he would like to abstain from road voting. What he said it was to me. To be, abstain from voting.
Yep, we can have that edited.
Mine is straight down. Whatever happened, but if we turn down, you guys will, I can. No, not at all.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, we'll make that note in there.
The road is not used.
So Jason, that was the part, when I wrote the letter, and I agreed, I said that I wanted to put the letter to be part of the record. So what is the procedure on that? Do we need to send email you the letter again, because I sent it to everybody present at that point?
Well, the letter is a part of our record of proceeding. So our internal file for that meeting has everything that was handed out for that meeting as part of our record of proceedings.
So that letter doesn't need to be included.
No, not as a part of the minutes, no. Typically, that's not, we typically just keep it as part of our record of proceedings. So we've got a complete file of everything. So any handouts that we hand out, those all go in there.
Even pictures.
Whatever was handed out, that I take back with me goes in that file.
There was also that when Chairman Perez mentioned that, and there was a part that I was, also either included the letter or mentioned from that day, that the reason why he was abstaining from voting is because he was one of the 3 claims, for the device.
Okay, we can add that statement in there just to clarify.
And then on page 5, it says, Mr. Cordova noted that we're trying to pay the treasury for 125 Board of Appeals close recommendations, fire repairs and corporate installations, and the next plan presented by the or prior board. So then after that, yesterday, Mr. Comas providing evidence for negligence by the current board.
Okay,
By the previous.
No, yeah, it's quite a previous, that you provide information that you're saying,
You know, that's what he meant, you know, because that's correct, when it's on the minutes, it's correct.
no, I think what he's saying is it should be current because he provided those photos that he was saying that it was
Correct.
current negligence.
But when he said, when Mario says, he's providing that information, and he's making it now more sure that it's
Right.
a prior board, that
Yeah.
it was the fact.
Got
They didn't provide the minutes.
so the first one is prior. And then
The second one is current.
Is current,
Yeah.
Previous. No, it
current.
doesn't, no. It's previous.
Yesterday, that Mr. Comas is providing evidence for negligence by the current board.
No, previous board.
Because when he brought that information in the statement that he did, he's saying, when he said it, he said, so now you're giving information that you guys did this wrong. So you're giving more information that you guys didn't do the proper maintenance to the spots. But anyway, he can say it, because he's the one that said it, so.
See if there's a way to.
See, so come and providing evidence negative, but if you go out and therefore display the new board will like you.
So I think what I can do, to kind of resolve both under Mr. Comas, if we go back to page 4, I'll put the statement in there that you provided evidence that you believe that it's the current boards. I'll put that in there. I think that resolves.
When we do that, then I'd like to also bring to light to the record that the picture that Mr. Thomas provided is misleading and does not even reflect the area where the stripes were placed. He took a picture of the entrance of the community, but he put it up so close as to be deceiving, so we don't know whether the picture was taken. But it was on the opposite side. There's enough markers that it shows the picture. It shows you that it's trying to mislead the board.
And see on the pictures here, if you want to see it again.
Yeah, we saw that story.
So to clarify. How do you mean? You want to see them again? There's no misleading information. Now, the letter here, I just don't want to read the whole letter again.
No,
All right,
So
so
I make a motion, to accept the minutes as amended.
as amended, yeah.
Yeah.
I second the motion.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Like,
Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Behind that, we've got your balance sheet and check, we'll start with your check register. In your general fund, we've got checks, 5815 through 5838 for a total of $276,111.54. I will point out that 177,000 of that is our assessment receipts that go from the general fund into your debt service. So we're cutting a check to ourselves essentially to pay that debt service. And I think the rest of it is fairly in line with everything you'd expect, but both Jared and I can answer any questions you would have on those invoices. And if there are none, we can take a motion to approve the check register.
Okay, I can make a motion to approve the check register.
I second the motion.
Okay. Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Behind that, you have your balance sheet and income statement. There's no action required by the board. I think most of the account lines are falling in line kind of exactly how we'd expect. Obviously, we're a little over on the gatehouse due to, I think, some of the camera repairs and some of the pool maintenance items as well, and some of the clubhouse repairs are where we're kind of over for now. We'll keep monitoring those items. We've also received, so far, we're almost 90% collected on your assessment, so we're in great shape. We expect to receive the rest of those fairly quickly. Behind that, Tori, I know you want to see some math, so we've got it there for you. This is actually the past arbitrage report. And so what you'll find is really the kind of a summary is there in the first page. That last sentence of the first little of the letter there says that there is no cumulative rebate requirement liability. That means we're under the amount that we would legally be allowed to collect. Behind that, there's a lot of math. And if you go to the last page, if you're looking for something to help you sleep at night, you'll see that it actually shows you what the earnings you had were, and then the allowable earnings. It kind of does the full test for you, depending on how deep you'd like to dive into that. There's really no action required by the board on that. We just present that for purposes of public record to show that we're in compliance. And with that, we'll turn it over to Jared to go through his field manager report.
Starting off with landscaping, it's pretty straightforward. Standard services right now, the annuals were just changed out last week. Next service for the annuals should be around May timeframe, right before summer starts. The Cdd palm trees were also trimmed. With this, the palm boots still need to be addressed at some point, and we keep harping on that. I know Chairman recently had some issues, either yesterday or the day before, with them falling down on his head around the clubhouse. At the very least, I would recommend just getting those done, just because safety concerns. It might be a minor thing, but it's still a potential liability concern. Going on to the pool and spa maintenance right now, the vendor is building all of the proposals and getting all of the talking to the manufacturers about if we were to do stay with the gas system instead. He also requested that we had some of the breakers replaced for the pumps because they were providing improper voltage. So we had an electrician come out, replace that. These boxes should be replaced completely. I would recommend sometime in the next few years. They're getting pretty corroded, and you're just going to keep seeing more issues. If it's not addressed at some point, you're risking damage to your pumps, and just the cost will continue to go up from there. So I would consider changing that out. It's next to chlorine constantly. They're going to take damage. It's just something that we're going to consider. The ADA parts for chairlift came in. They'll be installed this week. The filter grid came in. That'll also be installed at the same time this week. And I have a gas inspection company's coming on Monday. So he'll look at all the lines and then meeting and full report for you, if that's even an option for us to proceed, or what would be an ongoing cost for running a gas system. So we'll have all those numbers then. For the clubhouse maintenance, this pool overhang here, the ceiling was where the repair had happened from the hurricane damage. The ceiling was coming down, so my crew cut it all out. All the 2x4s that you see right there, we ripped all those out and changed those to pressure treated wood to help mitigate any further damage. The problem with this is the roof itself in this section is damaged. That plywood and everything, you can see a bunch of the black if you zoom in. There's a bunch of black that's just paint, but a lot of it is mold damage and other things like that. The wood that was installed shrank. It's constantly getting water, and we're already seeing cracks forming from the repair that we just did from the last rain. Every time it rains, you're going to see more damage pop up. We'll continue to monitor this and make fixes as we need, but I would recommend, at least if we're not going to do a full roof repair this year, I would at least get that flat section retiled and done, just so we don't know how far the damage goes. So it's just something to consider. I do have some initial numbers from vendors that I've contacted, so at least give us a price range to go through. With that, the first numbers that came in, around 7,200 is what we're looking at for that.
For the small roof?
Yes. And this would just be the flat section. Design wise, it's not very visible to anyone. I have no issue sticking with regular tile for this section. And then, I'm sorry, shingle tile, yes, single tile, excuse me. Just a standard tile for there. I don't think you need terracotta or any metal or anything there. So that's the first numbers that came in. Like I said, I'm still contacting more companies to get more quotes for that, but this, we just noticed the full extent of the damage right when we did this repair.
The 7,500 is from the 72, whatever it's everything, the whole.
The entire flat roof.
Just a flat roof.
Yeah.
Yes, and then at a later date, I would get the rest of the roof looked at and changed it. The guardhouse cameras are all completely installed now. This includes the two license plate reader cameras. I didn't want to include pictures of license plates on here, but I've shown the chairman and I have access to pictures to show you what the license plate reader actually looks like. It'll literally change the light on the license plate to make it extremely vivid. You can see it night or day. And then there's no issues with reflection or anything like that. So not only does it give a constant feed from those cameras of video, but it takes pictures of every vehicle coming through. It can store up to 10,000 pictures at a time, roughly. At least it's like 150 gigabytes of storage in there. So that'll help us anytime there is an issue going after people, and these will take pictures up to 40 miles an hour, 40 to 50 roughly range. These were unfortunately installed after the gate was hit, so we didn't have that, but going forward, we will have more protection there. The last thing they need to do is install one more camera here at the clubhouse and the other MBR system, similar to the one that's in the picture here. Currently, the vendor's out of the country. He's coming back next week and they'll finish the work then. For the gates, I spoke to Murray. We're, as of right now, on schedule to be installing on Friday with all the new systems and new gate and everything. It's currently being powder coated. As long as no major issue comes up in the next day or two, Friday should be the installation date for that. We also had them drop off a few new gate arms that had been damaged. So with those gate arms, if the LED strip channel is fine throughout, we can just change out the LED strip channels. It's not that big of a deal. It reduces the cost. If the actual channel is compressed at all, or the pole is bent in a way where it's going to cause damage to a vehicle through normal operation, we typically change those out. So right now we have one extra gate arm, and I'm having Murray bring one or two strips that we can just change out as needed, just so we don't have to have a full replacement of those arms.
Okay, so you're saying that the LED strip, you can replace those if.
As long as the channels. And
Yeah, right.
also for the board's information, we did receive the check from insurance for everything except the deductible on the gate. So we've been recouped for that.
Now that you mentioned, the street, were you able to find I know residents contact me, when they, hit the harm. I don't know if you guys send that communication to them to.
If we can find video verification, we can. At this point, I think that's been challenging without the license plate.
So the license plate camera, the footage, we don't have actual footage before January 28th. So that's the problem with the two previous vehicles is I can see, let's say, for example, a black Chevy. Okay, I can see that, but the license plate itself, it's blurry. There's no way to prove that it's that vehicle. We would have to make an assumption type thing. So now that everything is in place, we can go forward from here, but we did not have, it was not installed at the time. There was delays because all of the cameras had some sort of water damage previously. So that's in all the cable lines, everything, all of that had to be reordered and changed out. So the vendor got that done finally, but that was a delay for getting that cable in. That cable was also much sturdier and harder. So if there's, maintenance or lawnmowers going over it and stuff like that, it's not going to destroy it.
As part of my communication with the HOA, I was just thinking I'll also put in there that the gates are going to be reactivated on January. We expect them to be reactivated shortly. Once again, please use caution. Kind of the same thing again, and we're recording it.
And also let them know that the news, how to get the gates deep.
Yep. We'll wrap a good communication tomorrow.
Correct. With that, there's been a couple reports of sometimes people will pull up to the gate and it doesn't open for them. There's a couple issues that this could potentially be. I haven't noticed any failures on the systems end. I believe it has to do with how far vehicles are pulling up or how quickly they're pulling up after another vehicle is exited. I would recommend that we add a white striping line on both sides there and with a sign that says, please pull up to the white line. That is where the sensor is best. It'll pick up the vehicle and then I'll go from there. Obviously, it's not going to be all the way up to the barrier arm to protect the barrier arm, but this will make sure that any issues like that are reduced. So people don't have to back up and try to go to the other line or things like this. But that's up to a board decision if you want to do that.
White stripe on the pavers.
I'm not excited about the idea. However, for me, a lot of this, if the gate has a 99% effective rate, I don't see an issue. I don't see a reason to spend money. However, if that's something the board wanted to do to try to close that gap, to educate people, that is an option.
But I know for sure, I saw it, the gate, by the guardhouse, that a vehicle went there and the gate didn't open at all, like the big gate didn't open at all. And the person went back, went forward, it still didn't, so you have to go back and go to the other gate. But then afterwards.
Did another vehicle come through and work with them?
But then afterward, then it started working again. So I don't know, and the person went all the way back out of the sensor, went bit back in and did it.
This is on the resident side or?
This is the exit.
On the exit.
So
From the guardhouse.
these are automated systems.
Yeah.
They're not going to be perfect.
No,
Yeah,
just to make sure.
I just want to make sure everyone is aware of that.
That's like, when this happened, I think your rights is fixed, the warranty and everything, you need to make sure, at least make sure that. Then also, you need to have it 3 months. You know, inspect,
Correct.
you know, just because, I don't know, if that happened and I saw it, you know, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe
Maybe
it's-
it was like,
Which I'm having them look into that. I'm having them look into if we can change the way the color scheme, the
Yeah.
LED strip works. He's looking at all that this
Okay.
week, so.
that's good. That's good.
You said they're looking into that,
I'm sorry?
you said they're looking into the color, or you paying?
They're looking into if they can change the timing of the colors and see if they can open the barrier arm when the gate is about, 80% open.
Yeah,
If
so it
people see
won't
it-
change, it won't turn green until you're able to actually
Yeah.
kind of go.
I think even if it's colors have changed, like, please, say like, these are progress, right? Before it was south, we were like, at least maybe you see where
Yeah, well,
it's registered deeds.
it just depends on what our boxes are capable of. So he'll let me know what we're able to do and we'll go from there. As far as the actual report, that's all I have at the moment. We did add a couple of new items today for my crew being here. We cleaned out trash from both ponds here. Changed out a couple of the door handles, changed out the restroom here to be an all gender restroom for when this is closed, just gives a little extra opportunity for people. We fixed the soffitting gap up there. They looked up there, make sure there was no animals that had been previously reported. So that's closed up. But other than that, is there any questions for me? Most of my items are gonna be on next month's agenda, once I get all these numbers in.
Any progress on the buildings? So
So
send me the email about.
that's gonna have to be pushed back, just because the vendors for this are pretty limited, and I was hoping to use one of the vendors that provided the proposal for repairing the gate. We reached out to them. They were unhappy that we haven't used their services after they provided proposals. They refused to provide them with proposals.
But you have a proposal from Garden.
We have a proposal from Guardian, yes, and the board has already authorized a not to exceed for that amount, and we can proceed with that right now if that's what you want. I was trying to find you some sort of alternate vendor to potentially save money, but I don't know how much you're gonna save.
I think we got one more I think we got a little bit more time. We have our pool season yet, right? It'll get a lot of this pool season.
I think by March.
I think by the next meeting, we'll just.
By March, we don't have anything that we have to do.
I have a few other options. I've already reached out. If it comes back, it comes back. If not, Guardian will do a good job. It's just costly.
Are we gonna authorize the roofs to be cut?
If you guys want to, it was a $1,200 proposal for, so that $1,200 is for 48 palm trees around the clubhouse vicinity. So if you want to do the entirety of the property, probably double that
Here?
around the clubhouse area, yes.
So that's the 1,200.
That's
That
the
doesn't include the
1,200.
ones that-
That does not include the entirety of the property.
Well, we have.
Well, I can.
600, 3 out front, got all ones here.
Yeah, but here we have,
I mean, there's just 3 out front.
And there is $15,000 in your kind of other landscaping line, and so far this year, you've spent about 3,300 of that, so there is sufficient.
You find out how much it would cost to do them, also they.
Yeah, I'll get I'll get some exact numbers from him. You're looking at around $25 a tree is what we can do. So I'll get with him and I can get numbers out. We can bring that back next month. If you want to approve the clubhouse area, just because it's a lot of traffic, I would start with that and then we can get you numbers for the rest, but you know, and the medians, I'm not too concerned about. But people walking through here, especially these ones that are right here at the doorway, those ones are a problem.
Everybody knows do it all at once, because it means you can tell those veterans, it's good once you charge once with the that do this in bits and pieces.
With that, then I would recommend setting not to exceed for, let's say, 3,000 is probably overkill. And then appoint somebody, and we can have this approved tomorrow and done next week.
About 25.
We'll do 2,500 worth.
The motion that.
That should cover the entirety of the
The
property.
cutting of the palm.
That's for the entirety of the CDD property, because there's a bunch of palms that are in that track right there that are HOA, so.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. We'll get it done.
And about the pool.
Spot.
Yeah, the spot. Yeah, what is the status of that? Nothing is.
So the gas lines, the company, or the gas inspection company is gonna be here on Monday. Monday afternoon, I'll have a report on that ready to go, and I'll send up, we'll send out email updates to you guys, so you have something ahead of the meeting going through. The vendor is getting me like I said, he's talking to his manufacturer to give me pricing for the changes there, if we were to go gas or if we were to go electric. And then it would come down to, if we stayed with gas, it would be how much is it to refill the tanks every time we need it on a basis.
I have a question. I was under the impression that the gas tank was in the front, right?
There's a gas tank up front, there's a gas tank back
I
here.
just ran into one, and I was walking my dogs back there, and I'm like, so I imagine that this is the one for the spa. And maybe the one in the front feeds the fireplace.
That would be my assumption, but I don't know without seeing how the lines are set up.
So
And then
that inspection is gonna involve that.
it's a full comprehensive. Yes, so if there's any repairs that need to be done, they'll let us know. If it's even functional, maybe it's just low on gas and.
I just wanna make sure they don't just come for the spa and then check that.
No, you're good. No.
And then when you told me the water in there, I think the chemicals are good.
So they come out and they balance those chemicals every time that they're here. And the spa actually has stricter standards than what it used to. It used to be a 10 ppm, I think is what they or ppg particles per gallon. Used to be 10 particles per gallon that they were allowed to have. Now it's down to 5. So it requires that every time they're here, they service that. There should be no more issues with if anybody does decide to hop the taping and everything go in there. There should be no risk of chemical burns, but it does not perform the duties of a spa in terms of turning on bubbles, anything like that.
And then you got the other motor from the other company, you know, the one that we removed.
Not yet. I'm still following up about it.
The same day I was walking my dog back there, and I ran into the gas tank, there was a motor, a motor in a box outside the area there, and I put it in the brown, plastic container that's inside the fence there, I put it in there, because I was worried somebody would just take it all away, I didn't know if it was good or not.
So they did change out that pump. That might have been the bad one that you replaced. Is that the voltage was messing up and it destroyed that pump, so it had to be replaced. That pump is the one that lets them get the water out of the tank so they can change the filter grids or adjust the water levels in the pump house itself. So it's not the main pool pump or anything.
But the one that we changed was a maple, right?
No, we just changed another pump.
You changed another.
This one was $400.
Oh, that's the.
The electric.
Yeah, no, the previous pool company says that the voltage was up and down, and he said that the best thing to do is to put a voltage regulator in there before it goes to the pumps.
That's what you guys did. No?
Because that was a previous pool company. So-
The
We should have-
voltage, all the voltage readings are where they should be now. After the electrician came, they worked on the panel, changed breakers and other things.
You got it.
Yes.
That's fine.
The last thing that I have is tables and chairs pricing of the question is gonna be how much of what we're looking for. So we'll start with, we're talking about the two-seater chair rack, so it's always in here. It's gonna be one nice thing. It's not gonna be those little things. This chair rack has an 84 chair capacity that will cover everything that we're gonna potentially need. That's $545.
The chair, what, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we have discussed upgrading chairs in here. You have chairs that are broken and unusable. Right now, you have 46 usable chairs that have all the parts.
46 usable right now.
Correct.
Parking.
Yeah.
Yes.
So someone will kind of stand parking
So first thing would be a chair rack to support that. So all the chairs would be in this room. They would be on the rack. People could take them down as they needed and they put them back on the rack afterwards.
So the rack is that amount?
The rack itself is $545. Yes.
So is the rack like fixed somewhere, or is it just like the racks that have?
It's a moving rack.
It's on wheels, yeah.
Yes. We have them at a couple other facilities. They work great. And just make it to where people aren't just stacking chairs against the wall and everything like that.
Yeah, and do we know how many broken tables we have? That would be too, because I tried to set up some tables. It fell.
We have 3 broken tables at the moment. So so things that, huh?
Are they repairable? Then. I mean.
Buy a new, in the trash. It's a table.
Stop it. You already know. You already know.
So
There's a procedure you should follow. You have to declare the salvage and so.
That's my next question.
The GMS has a procedure down now. Okay, that's one.
So yeah, I'm definitely encouraged that we get rid of anything that's broken by repair. And that's not my storage space. Now. We need, how many chairs do you suggest we need?
I would have a minimum of 70 as that is your maximum load capacity. And we are allowing people to rent up to 70, so to not provide that seems a little.
I know we're short about 24 chairs.
Right. And that's 24 chairs. If you guys wanted to stay with these aluminum chairs that are $25 a piece is where that's starting at. So your other
How much
option.
more is a cushion one?
So I have 3 options. The basic ones are $25 a piece. These basic ones with the cushion on, the vinyl padding on there, that goes to $32 a piece. For $37, you'll get the PVC plastic ones that are like the tables that you have here.
I'm okay with padding. It sucks to sit here for 3 hours at these chairs. I think a long time, they start for padding ones anyway, so the cost is not that much different.
No, I would definitely recommend at least taking the mid-tier option on this because it's your money. So basically, well, if you're gonna do a different option, the question is, are you replacing all of them to be that option, or you just want 24?
I would just replace the ones we're short, and as they break, we replace them with the same ones. You said there were $32 for a cushion?
I can get you.
He's kind of putting it together right now.
768 plus shipping with
That's
that
just the
many.
chairs,
That's just for the chairs, correct?
and then
So
500 for the rack.
So 12.
And that's.
this is from Uline, who ship all this here, and then I've compared with other places. They're within $1 or $2 of each other. So
I have a second, I'm for me, for sure, capacity to 365.
that's what you guys can use. That's fine.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, there's.
No, and then also,
Different.
it's like Sam's or top, because I see Sam also this type of tables and chairs, and I think I saw chairs with the padding. I'm just saying, because I know
This
mainly these.
was just the easiest place that I could find.
Oh,
I
okay.
compared the prices. I
Yeah.
gave you a range. I have no issue getting these similar quality chairs or anything from Amazon.
These are tables too, right?
Yeah, so tables on here, so I would recommend getting at least 2 of the round tables. Because right now you have a weird mix. You have 3 of these flat tables and then 2 of the round ones. One of them is broken. So people
People
always,
the idea of the round ones for 2 reasons. One is they have to buy a lot of space for storage and also when they are set up. 2 is that when you put them on the side of it, they're also a risk of falling, they don't fit right on the rack.
correct. I would definitely recommend this.
I think we don't have an obligation to provide tables as part of the pool or that like a.
No, I mean, there's no real obligation to provide anything.
I mean, we're getting changed just because, I mean, the people
Yeah.
use stuff for our meetings,
Yeah.
HOA meetings and stuff, so
Yeah.
I can see the specs on that, but tables. You think you wanna replace tables, is that what you're saying?
Like, I just didn't have this.
Right now, I will say it's a heavy request from your residents, but just something, it's a heavy request from your residents, but you have no obligation.
You have no obligation to get it, just increase the price, right? So you have to show the value. And I see the round tables, when you're talking about bins in here. I see the round tables as a great place people, right? These tables are, the gift table or the trustee table, or whatever you have.
At least those,
Right.
I know we can, split them, you know, we can have this halfway.
We say we have only 2 round tables there. That are functional.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna go by that, by making sure people have round tables for their events, then we need 7, maybe we're gonna fit 70 people in. And
So
I don't know, to me, I just find it to be,
I think half.
a storage issue, like, I mean, honestly, I don't like coming in here and seeing all these tables and chairs right here. I think it's not good. You know, and I don't think every party uses all the tables and all the chairs and
Yeah, we need to, I think.
make that process in that storage room to put all this stuff in there, and
we have
there's room in there, so if we buy that rack that we're talking about, that fits in there,
if you buy like.
the rack for the chairs.
We don't, so the chairs, per my instructions, were to keep all the tables and chairs in here, so they weren't getting access to the meeting room because we're not here to
Yeah,
facilitate.
you don't
all
have
that.
to on-site staff anymore.
But
So
you
there,
know, the room is rented,
yes,
so your last day here, prior to the rental, you can't leave them in here.
but that would be on a Monday or Tuesday, so they would be here all week regardless anyways. And they would be here already from the Sunday rental if there was a Sunday rental.
But I think having a rack. At least to start, right? And I think.
No,
it's-
yeah. We need, but we need to find that, yeah.
So what's the option for storing those round tables? From on that rack?
They have round table dollars, but that it would be the same thing.
Do those fold in half?
These ones?
Yeah.
The round tables,
Maybe
yeah,
that's favorite to fold in half and put the flat side down and make it a little bit easier.
correct.
Right. Falling cash.
And also, I was checking on Amazon, these type of tables that fall in half as well. to-
Correct, they have all those options.
They're like, you know, $30.
Why don't we do some shop around this, let's
Yeah.
really mix some prices on, I don't think we need to spend $1 on this, but. Let's get a rack that everything can go nicely on, we're gonna sit here, those things look. Janky, but they're also, I just, like, it's just something getting injured by using them, they serve a purpose, you know. Let's try to do a little bit of shop around, you know, at least start with a rack. We can put everything in there, and then we can maybe as we go through the year and see where the funds are going. we can-
Do you want to start with the rack and 26 chairs, just so you're up to where you're at, or just the rack? Either way is fine.
I think we can approve to sort it out, and if you want, because I know you know, you're looking at the good things and some we can go at the point of contact with Garrett, so we can decide, hey, this is what we're gonna get, you know, and
That's fine, I'll take it.
Yeah, I can make you a spreadsheet as well next week of, hey, these are covered,
How much you really?
maybe 1,500.
yeah. That's what I'm.
That gives you some flexibility if, you know, maybe you can throw a table in two for the same
I
amount.
make a motion.
Yeah.
All right, I make a motion then to approve up to 1,500 for tables and chairs. And to also authorize Corey Gagnon to work with Jared on this project.
I second that motion.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
We have running the budget. Yes.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, let me,
all those areas,
I'll,
make sure you have the others to-
Clubhouse. Yeah, I mean, you've got 11,000 just R and M Clubhouse, and we've spent about 8,000, so 1,500 is still keeps you in the budget.
Finish the motion, sorry.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously.
I was gonna ask you, just out of curiosity, do we have any data of, like, how much, are we renting the clubhouse just as often as we were before the prices changed?
I mean, it-
Really dropped significantly?
It certainly seems like it's at least every weekend, it's still being rented.
I can ask for,
I was gonna say that, I mean, I wanted to mention the board, obviously, we've transitioned to fully remote, and so far, I haven't heard of any problems, but obviously, if you hear of any, please get in contact with me immediately, we'll get it rectified. But the transition seems to be going really well so far. And your residents have access now, 5 days a week to people as opposed to just the weekend, so.
Yeah, the only problem I have, I came by here at like almost 9 o'clock one day, and there was a party in here, and literally they had all the doors open, and people everywhere. It sucks that there's no kind of supervision for that, right, but if there was some idea of what we could do this. To me, it seemed like there was more people here that's probably rented it because some people was in here.
And that's another one that when we get this system or now, like I said before, change the rental, oh, they get out at 6 and then, they stay to 8 and
Yeah.
that's how you can keep, the deposits,
Did we ever create the calendar for the?
We're still working on that. Now that we just transitioned everybody, I'm gonna start working on seeing what we can put on there. But again, they're really responsive, so if anybody calls or emails, they get back to them with available times and dates. And again, they don't have to wait till the weekends now, so any day that they want, they get information.
The only option for that would be security.
We'll work on that. That sounds expensive.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. I think that's all that we got then.
That's it?
Any other items?
No, I don't know.
What did I tell you? 2 hours. All right. If there's anything else, we can, I do want to note, the next meeting is, it says the 12th on here, but it's actually the 19th. We did push that one back 1 week. So it will be the 19th next month. That'll give us time to get your move back.
Isn't that spring break?
I don't know those words,
Okay, how do you-
but it is the 19th. And with that, we can take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries, meeting is adjourned.
I'm here. I'm going to.
So your roll's under 2, my roll's under that.
You created at least 1 hour. But we can get through that.
I'm not that serious about it.
And that's. That was. That's my life.
Well, yeah, I did that with the kids. I watched. I started watching. What's the? Because I was the TV's black and white and they transferred it. And then it was color speed rate.